Morning. Today we're looking at a 2011 Audi A6. There's a couple of problems here. We're after replacing a handbrake switch, which is they're quite common. But another problem was the MMI head-up display here that pops in here. It jumps out every time you power on the ignition. It was dead, so we got to removing it, checked the wiring diagrams, etc, etc, and I'll show you those in a second. It looks like we're after tracking it down to a completely severed wire, most likely just through fatigue failure, I'd say. So this wire is actually like so, and if you look here, we have a little it's very carefully anchored onto the back of the mechanism here, and obviously it's going through lots of cycles, opening and closing. The fuse, you might have a fuse popping. I actually checked for continuity and found out that I didn't have any continuity. It's fuse number, to supply to this guy is fuse number 2, ST1 on the C fuse boxes, which is the black one is ST1, I think. ST2 is brown. On the passenger side, the C fuse boxes are passenger side on the right hand side vehicle. We'll just take a quick look at the wiring diagrams because the naming structure for all this equipment is a bit confusing. Okay, so radio system, and as we see, we have a lot of options depending on the trim level. This goes under MMI, and then there's a couple of options there with different add-ons for Bose systems, etc, etc. But the layout of the MMI is here, and if you do plug in VCDS, you're going to see the naming structure is basically the radio, which is still in it. In that model, it's just a CD head unit. That's number 4. That'll come up as J794, and the actual head unit that pops out itself for the info display, number 2, comes up as J685. So the two of those are talking. Obviously, your control buttons on around the gear stick is E380. You can see it all there, and depending on what level you have, you might have other stuff. Some of that's running on the MOST bus as well, fiber optic bus, so there could be some extra stuff if you've Bang and Olufsen and or Bose or whatever, blah blah blah. But just to know, when you see the codes, for me, I had that no communications with J685, which is that head unit, and then I was able to go into J794, which is actually the radio unit. So just a brief look at the wiring diagram for this one. So this is J794, and this is the head unit, J685. This is our wire, our supply here, blue and red, the one that was actually severed, ST1, and the SC2, so number 2 on the C side, which is on the passenger side. ST1 refers to the black one there. That's a 5 amp fuse, and it was popped when I saw it. Obviously it was grounding to the ground, which is brown here. So just a supply issue, but just something to be aware of, and I guess pretty logical and intuitive when you consider that, you know, how many cycles has it gone over. But it wasn't visible because it was wrapped up in that Volkswagen cloth tape. Everything looked perfect. It was internally severed. So cheers.